Tēnā anō koutou katoa. I'm proud to be supported by my Green Party colleagues and leaders in the Rainbow community, Kevin, Clive and Tabby. I knew coming to Parliament that I would face prejudice and homophobia. I knew that people would not like the way I dress or speak or the causes that I advocate for. I knew that I would be under scrutiny, as is appropriate for every single person that has the privilege of this position. But I could never imagine or prepare myself to be attacked in such a baseless, personal, and violent way. That my life and that of my child would be threatened. That poisonous, transphobic hate and imported culture wars would be levelled against me and my community, not just by extremists online, but by individuals who hold the highest level of authority in this institution. I am here to bring my full self into Parliament and to represent my communities in the most authentic way possible. This is why when I was advised by the party to delete the page before coming to Parliament, I chose not to.
That was a question that was quite heavily delved into in the Q&A afterwards. You know, if they suggested, obviously it wasn't a criteria, if they suggested for it to be removed, how come you didn't remove it? And the response from Ben was basically, it's not being used right now, and I'm not going to delete myself from who I am authentically. So
that was one of the things that I said when we were discussing it, right? Is like, yes, it was probably politically naive to not sanitize your online persona. But then again, part of me is like, why the fuck should someone have to do that?
Yeah. But equally to that, and this, I'm not saying this is fair, I'm just being a realist here. If you don't do that, then there might be some extra icky consequences. Yeah. I'm not saying to the standard of this. You know what I thought as well? I thought about this as I was watching. I thought, what's wrong with answering a question? You know what? This is me talking now, in case, because if I say me or he, it's about, I'm talking about myself. You know what? I said and acted in a way before I was a politician that's not appropriate for a politician. But guess what? That was then. And since then, I've changed my position. You know, like when a lot of us were 18, 19, 20, I'm sure we acted in a way around a drinking culture that wouldn't be necessarily appropriate as a parent. You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with going, that was then, and I'll tell you, yeah, I spoke in a certain way, I acted a certain way, and I don't do that anymore because in this position that's not appropriate. Back then when I was a student, it was accepted and appropriate, you know? So I don't think there's a middle ground where you don't have to go, this is still who I am, because we change. You know, we change. I'm not saying that as an excuse, like, you know, Russell Brand's going through something at the moment where he's talking about how he used to be a bad boy because of various charges that have just been laid against him.
He's still a bad boy.
Yeah, I'm not going to that extreme. But what I'm saying is, yeah, I did speak and act in a certain way, but now I'm in a position where speaking like that is no longer appropriate, so I don't. So, you know, it's a bit like we always used to say, you know, how would you act if you had if you had an interaction with the Queen? You know, well, king now, but you'd act and speak in a very different way than if you were doing it to your best mate who was a bartender. You can change, you can be different in different places, and that's how we all work. To your boss versus to your best mate, to your wife versus to your child. You know, I don't think I think we can all also go, we are different in different places. In my private life and my social life, I'm pretty cheeky. I use certain words and language. Well, you see all of us in this show, but you know, I think if I was an MP sort of thing, and in my business life, that's not appropriate to act like that. So I don't. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought about that today. Right, let's keep going.
I can admit that I was politically naive, and we have paid a huge price for that naivety. None of this means I deserve the barrage of abuse and vitriol I have experienced. I have been fielding a significant number of threats to my life and the safety of my child and family, some of which have been so graphic and disturbing that I have been advised not to leave my house or appear in public due to real concerns for my safety.
I think that's an important part as well, because, you know, the perspective on Twitter and various places was, well, why is Benjiman run away and hidden? It sounds like, and I was thinking this again before I saw this, it sounds like that Ben didn't have a choice in that, because obviously you follow the advice of the experts, the security people, and they've told Ben to just go and stay at home for a while. Whereas the internet sees that as a, well, he's running away. They're running away. Sorry. Ben's running away. Ben should come back immediately and explain it to all of us so we can have our thoughts and feelings satiated. So I think it's important to think about the process and how it happens. And if parliamentary services or if the security at Parliament have said, Ben, you should go home for a while, then that's what you do. And that's what it sounds like he's saying happened. They were saying. Might have done it again then.
These attacks I've faced have been baseless and cruel. Queer people are not a danger to children. This is an outdated and homophobic lie. I have been targeted due to both my identity as a queer and non-binary parent and my public platform as an outspoken member of Parliament. In particular, images of my child from my private Instagram account have been taken without permission, removed from their original context, and shared online in misleading and manipulative ways. Context is key, and something that has been deliberately ignored and twisted by some incredibly bad faith actors looking for an excuse to punch down on someone who represents something they don't agree with. The post at the centre of these baseless attacks include 10 images from a range of activities in my life, with a pop culture pun in the caption. Bussy galore is an in-joke and a nickname. The translation here is me at large living my best life. Referring to myself in this way on Instagram is an expression of my queer identity, and it acts as a persona, much like a drag performer or a comedian might use. The caption, which references me, is an example of the way marginalised communities often reclaim or subvert language in order to exist unapologetically.
So Ben's just made it very clear. Bussy on Instagram was talking about themselves. As you were saying, Chewie, Ben's just confirmed there was 10 photos to that one caption. Now, again, those out there who have been looking for blood, come and answer the question and explain it if there's no problems. He has. Now what? So do we expect a certain pile of melting pancake batter tomorrow morning to go, oh, well, Ben has explained it all. It's all fine now.
Pat might have something about that. Let's finish the clip.
Okay. Is it anything to do with Reese Williams?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Because I've got something about that as well. I'm just wondering if you're going to usurp my little thing. But
no, I got secrets.
All right.
I recognise that bussy is not a term all rainbow people use or like, but it is one that is commonly understood and appreciated by my friends and community. For me, this term is wordplay and represents the combination of my masculine and feminine qualities as a non-binary person, someone whose gender doesn't fit into a strict category. It is also a satirical in-joke referencing pop music, drag culture, Bond novels, and 1960s cinema, made about myself with people who know me in mind. The vast majority of New Zealanders will not tolerate violent and malicious rhetoric in our country. They will not accept toxic conspiracies which attempt to bully and threaten queer people out of public life. I refuse to be disappeared by hate. We have a choice as members of Parliament to reject this imported culture war of hate and division. We can and must do better than this, because that is what the people of Aotearoa deserve.
So there you go. Thanks to stuff.co.nz for all of that. Now, I've got more to play, Chewie. Like there's the news item and there's the question about the swirl, the blue swirl. But do you want to drop something now, or?
Yeah, look, I got two things. One's a comment on that press conference.
Mm-hmm.
They hit every note, every question, I'm just asking questions. They explained it to people that were not familiar with aspects of who they are and the community that they're part of and all of that sort of thing. That was pitch perfect. Hats off. You mentioned the BHN nemesis. You're not going to like this, Pat. I'm just going to say, you're not going to like
I have to tell you something else. I don't know what you know, but there's a story already tonight on the platform about Reese. Is it Reese Williams? Is that the right name? So
Reese Witherspoon is the mastermind behind all of this.
Yeah.
So let's hear from Sean Oliver Plunkett. I will say this for Benjiman Doyle. They have displayed a level of bravery and courage rarely seen in politics. Agree with them or not, they have put a stake in the ground.
I've got. Let's bookshelf that for a bit, because there may be a reason why Sean Plunkett is coming out trying to put balance in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, I'm taking this at face value at the moment, and I have to say, apart from the fact of not getting the pronouns right, it's difficult for Sean. He's old, stuck in his ways, whatever. On its face value, I go, hats off. That's a good comment from someone that I would not have expected it from. If he's since stood on his own deck, I also 100% understand that.
Let's just say this. I don't want to bury the lead. I'm keeping my powder dry because I want to finish this story first. But Sean Plunkett and his minions got up to something today around Reese Williams, and I just wonder, if you put the two things together, that feels a little more disingenuous than maybe we would think normally about Sean Plunkett. So just bookmark that. We'll come back to it.